you can't have over 30 of them if you don't have the first one. It's NXT TakeOver. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's Pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and here is episode 2 of NXT Rewind. It's NXT TakeOver 2014, and we are casting our minds back to Thursday, May 29th, 2014, and we are in Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, with the weird Wikipedia 400 plus in attendance, Tom Phillips even, Byron Saxton and William Regal on commentary, and they're still using the theme from the weekly episode because it is sort of a enhanced weekly episode of NXT. But we do start with an opening package. It is all about change. It is all about evolution, which is a term that is used widely over the WWE. We had a group called Evolution. We had a pay-per-view called Evolution. We have the women's Evolution. The word evolution is all over WWE, is it not? And why not put it in NXT as well? Video package includes clips from Paige, the Wyatt family, Big E, Rusev, all the people that have gone from NXT onto the main roster to sort of plant their flag on the main roster, the big one being Paige. Obviously, it's kind of rough seeing the Wyatt family stuff, because obviously you see Luke Harper, and the passing of Luke Harper is, I'm sure, still fresh in all of our minds. And it ends with NXT is taking over, hence TakeOver, etc., etc., etc. Now, the commentators will go on throughout the night to talk about how NXT is taking over, and they drive that pun home a lot more than I ever remembered at the time. But at the time, we didn't know TakeOver itself was going to become a brand. NXT is a brand, and WWE is a brand, and Raw is a brand, and SmackDown is a brand. TakeOver itself is a brand, which is why I'm doing these episodes right now. But yeah, they really drive that pun. They also do a really weirdly they do a weird overpush of going up, going to the main roster, talking about Raw, talking about SmackDown, talking about how success in NXT is going to get you to where you really want to be, and man, has that narrative changed. Let's just talk about that. The first match, and if I tell you the first match, a lot of people are going to probably react with, and why are we talking about this? Hey, Spaz, why you could have skipped this one type thing. But it's Adam Rose versus Camacho. Now, two guys that aren't in the WWE anymore. If anybody's seen pictures of Adam Rose or Leo Kruger recently, he looks like a fucking beast. I don't know if he's still wrestling, but somebody sent me a picture of him last year, and he looks like a fucking tank. Oh, yes. Adam Rose is in the parking lot with the Rosebuds. They make the entrance from the Full Sail parking lot to the ring. Now, this must have been back... Obviously, it was about 7 years ago. This was before the Full Sail parking lot became the most dangerous place in wrestling, was it not? They didn't have Legado del Fantasma back there for a start. Now, the story's pretty simple. Camacho's a pretty serious guy. Adam Rose is definitely not a serious guy. Camacho wants them to stop having fun. He's even beaten up a couple of the Rosebuds, and we'll talk about the Rosebuds in a second. But there's some cat and mouse from Rose to start off the match, and a full Nelson by Camacho. Now, to say that Adam Rose was a little flamboyant is putting it nicely. So when he had him in the full Nelson, he starts grinding up against him to make him feel all uncomfortable, a la Goldust, a la anybody else you can think of in that regard. And it works because the big macho guy, Camacho, I didn't even want that to be a thing. He sort of freaks out and lets him go. Forearm knockdown by Camacho and a mudhole stomp, a double arm overhead suplex by Camacho. I can speak, I swear. Choking Rose with his own arm to a kneeling pose. Snapmare by Rose, a boot by Camacho twice. Camacho clubs him in the chest, back to the choke again, choking him with his own arm, and the crowd starts chanting party time. They start chanting for Rose, and Rose starts, I don't want to invoke Hulk Hogan here, but he starts rosing up, I guess. Kitchen sink by Camacho, a super leg drop and a headbutt, boot by Rose, left jabs and knockdown, and a spine buster. Now, Adam Rose is an interesting guy, because when he's flailing around and, like I say, being a bit flamboyant and partying, he makes himself look like a pretty lanky guy, like a Jack Skellington type character, but as soon as he rips out a power move like this particular spinebuster, it's great. And it led to a "We Are Rosebuds" chant. Back elbow by Rose, a super kick, a Bronco Buster, and a party foul get the win for Rose. Now, like I said at the beginning, nobody really talks about Adam Rose anymore, and who the hell was Camacho? But why would I bother with this match? Because this was just a match for match's sake, and you guys have heard me talk about that before, it was a little bit of fun to start the show. It was a very, very simple, this is a fun guy, this is a serious guy that's coming to stop all the fun. Picture anybody that Lance Storm faced. Picture anybody that comes along to face the New Day, and it was very, very good. Fans want to have fun. And I said this in the last video, and I'm going to say it here too. This is sort of exists in a bubble. It sort of exists outside of the fandom that wants to be critical. We go into Raw, rightfully so, SmackDown, rightfully so, AEW, rightfully so, and current NXT to a certain extent, rightfully so, and we get our critical hats on, and we're going to nitpick the bad stuff. We're going to acknowledge the good stuff, but we're going to nitpick the bad stuff. The people in Full Sail, and this is why it's a shot in the arm for me right now, especially since we're still in COVID times, and this is in the before time in the long, long ago. This is a shot in the arm. This is a shot of adrenaline for me to go back and watch these Full Sail crowds, because they are in there, they are loyal to the brand because it's just starting and it's exciting to be part of a new thing, but they are in there with a concerted effort to have fun, and they are in there with a concerted effort to get into whatever's going on, and they know that this is a goofy match. Now we would look at it and say, well, that's goofy, why the hell did they put that on the card? Back then, an NXT fan would say, of course it's goofy, that's Adam Rose's shtick. His shtick is that he's going to bitch slap the guy that wants him to stop being silly. And Camacho just is, as I said before, it sounds like I'm making a pun, but I'm really not. But he is stereotypical macho serious guy number 5. And he's trying to spoil all the fun. And, you know, you get the party pooper chants and all that kind of thing. The other thing is, you look through the rosebuds, and I mean, the most obvious one is Braun Strowman is a rosebud, which is hilarious. Simon Gotch is one of the rosebuds, and I mean, the most he's known for now is the shoot that he did on Enzo Amore, which is neither here nor there. And one of them that I only saw in passing, I could swear is Becky Lynch. I don't know for sure. I won't say it 100%, but I'm about 99% sure that one of the rosebuds is Becky Lynch. I know she was a rosebud at one point because she's talked about it in interviews, but Simon Gotch, look where he is now. Braun Strowman, look where he is now. And Becky Lynch, by God, look where she is now. They're all rosebuds. They're all like the back. If Adam Rose was a rock star, they'd be the background singers. And Adam Rose is the one that's gone now. I find that a little bit funny, and it's a little bit interesting, historically speaking. But yeah, that's the end of the fun, because now we get into some not serious stuff, but more like what are we here for type stuff. There's a video package on Sami Zayn, who's going to be facing Tyler Breeze in a #1 contendership match later on tonight. Documenting everything from his loss to Cesaro at the last pay-per-view to how he's been struggling, to how he's been recovering and trying to rebuild momentum. He talks about how his thirst and his fire for this business and what he wants to achieve has caused him to be a bad brother. It's caused him to be a bad son. It's caused him to be a bad father, I think, because he's neglected other things for this. He puts over Tyler Breeze, but in the same breath he's saying basically, this guy's not my type of guy. He's more concerned about what's in the mirror, what's in the cell phone selfie, than he is about what's going on in the ring. And basically, it's a hype video for the match we're going to get later on in the night. It's really good, and say it with me. I know it gets cliche. It gets cliche even on this channel, but say it with me, say it loud, say it proud. WWE and NXT are great at video packages. Moving on, we got the Ascension versus Kalisto and El Local, and for a second, I put the Ascension versus the Lucha House, or the Lucha Dragons, but it's not. It's because it's not Sin Cara. It's Kalisto and El Local, who I forgot was a thing. Now, they're in there to be bodies for the night, because the whole story here is that Ascension has been tearing through everybody. They're desperate for competition. They're hungry for competition. That's why they took on Too Cool at Arrival, which was definitely a thing. But, and I'll say it at the end of this match again, if you want to talk about the people that have been on NXT that had such great potential, and I'm not saying that they're the greatest wrestlers in the world either. I'm just talking about how they're handled. We talk about all the time how they were always sort of made to be the modern day Legion of Doom. They were made to be the modern day, what's the other one? Demolition, etc. But they did the good thing in NXT of never actually saying that, because when you say it, you're inviting the comparison, whereas it's just, you know, spiritual successor type of idea. And they did, for whatever little bit of time they were in NXT, they did kill everybody. Now, we're going to get to the next show where that's not quite true anymore, but for right now, these guys are the monsters. It is the special spectacle, the foregone conclusion match. You're just going to see Ascension rip through some people. It's the good version of the beginning of the Ryback run. It's Go out there, be monsters, get fed some people. Everybody goes home happy. But all four men brawl to start. Well, basically, both of the Ascension beat down Kalisto and El Local. There's a double suicide dive and a double uppercut block by the big guys on the outside. So Victor and Kalisto start the match properly. Victor starts manhandling Kalisto around the ring. There's a double team by the Ascension. Now, for the Ascension, who are already huge, to double team the smallest guy in the match is almost hilariously violent. I really, really do love it. But a power slam by Connor, a chicken wing by Connor as Victor hits him in the head. So he's got him tied back with the chicken wing. I don't know why I'm doing hand motions again, because especially if you're listening in audio, you're not going to be able to tell. But basically, the chicken wing makes him absolutely helpless to the headbutt to the midsection. Now, Kalisto's a pretty small target, but you can still break him in half by hitting him in the middle, can you not? Victor claws the eyes, because clearly giants this size need to also cheat. Hits him with some chop knockdowns, and when I say chop knockdowns, he doesn't even need to lariat him, he doesn't even need to clothesline him, just a simple chop takes him off his feet, and almost knocks him up and off his feet. Body shots by Kalisto, but he gets caught up in the Tree of Woe, and he gets stomped by Connor in the corner while he's in the Tree of Woe, and then Victor takes him out of the corner with a what I can only call a modified sling blade. Grounded sleeper by Victor. He tosses Kalisto to the floor. Connor clotheslines Kalisto against he does this weird thing, I should say. He picks him up on the outside like he's going to chokeslam him, but he chokeslams him against the ropes on the outside so that he bounces off the ropes and face plants on the ground. That's 3 or 4 bits of impact all at once. It's really good. Corner tackle by Connor. It says Connor tackle by Connor because I'm an idiot. Kalisto finally manages to get an elbow, and he gets a hot tag to El Local, who's got forearms for everybody, but a second rope moonsault. A second rope moonsault by Local gets blocked into an STO by Victor. They hit the Follow Man, and the Ascension get the win. Now, I love that, because literally the whole idea of a hot tag, especially when you've got a high-flying team versus a power team, is you beat up the smaller guy, and then the hot tag comes, and the exciting, faster, potentially younger, potentially smaller guy that's going to outwit the big guys, who's going to be faster than the big guys, who's going to make them look like lumbering big shows. He's going to come in off the hot tag, and it's going to turn the whole match around. He got the hot tag here, and 2 seconds later he's getting hit with the Follow Man and losing. I think that I don't want to say heartbreaking. Heartbreaking is the wrong word, but it's like a false hope. It's like, we've beat the fuck out of you the whole match. Oh, you want to tag him in? Okay, cool, we'll just pin him instead. It's really good. And the Ascension was good. Like I said before, they're not the best technical, they're not going to put on technical classics in the ring. They're not meant to. They're not like the Revival or the Hearts or anybody else that those type of teams model themselves around. They are there to be, as William Regal says a bunch of times on commentary, the blunt instruments. They are there to be, like I said, Legion of Doom, Demolition, in later days, AOP. I've always made the suggestion that Shane McMahon should have managed a team of Omos and Dabba-Kato, but they're not doing that, are they? That team would not have been doing shooting star presses and 5 stars and high class 5-star submission wrestling. They're there to thump you in the goddamn face, and they did it, and NXT knew how to present it. And yes, like I just said, you had the house crowd, you had the NXT loyals in Full Sail, which has got to be one of the best audiences to be in ever. And that makes them incredibly biased, and that only helps. But goddamn, did they know how to present these guys. They put them on the main roster and teamed them up with Stardust and made them into the Wasteland, and then made them into jobbers, and then made them into not even jobbers, and then had them filling out Battle Royale. It's going to be a common thing. It's going to be a theme in this series as I go through NXT Rewind and we get up to some of the more current shows. The, oh my god, how did they fuck those guys up, is going to be a common theme. So let's just start the ball rolling right now. We go to another video package. Say it with me, NXT and WWE are really great at video packages. It's Tyler Breeze basically doing a response to the Sami Zayn video. And, well, it's a highlight package of the entire Prince Pretty gimmick. And the Prince Pretty gimmick was friggin' beautiful, pun intended. But the whole self-indulgent supermodel with the selfie stick, when they incorporated the selfie stick with his entrance so that whatever was on his phone was on the Tron, it was all good. But then he did the other beautiful thing and went on, he goes on, in this video package, he goes into a little bit of a mini rant about, I am gorgeous, I am pretty, I am going to be the pretty face of NXT, but also people look at this pretty face and don't think I can kick their heads off, and then they go into a montage of him actually beating the shit out of people, which is also great. We're starting very, very slowly to see what Tyler Breeze can do now, but they've also made him a babyface, which pulls him away from this great Prince Pretty character, which was awesome. He says it, well, in the video package, it's funny to hear it now. He says, well, it's 2014. Everybody's got a cell phone. Every cell phone has a camera, but not every camera gets to look at a face as pretty as mine. That's it's not stuff that's going to set the world on fire, but that's the type of line that is just gold, that drives a gimmick home. And of course he does the opposite of Sami Zayn, entirely puts down Sami Zayn, talks about how Sami Zayn's a loser, because even after losing to Cesaro, he went on to lose a feud with, I believe, Corey Graves. Remember when Corey Graves was a wrestler? I miss Corey Graves as a wrestler. And he's been slowly struggling to get his momentum back ever since. And you get it obviously contrasts with the video package that Sami Zayn did first. It's like, look, this guy's not for me, but I'm not going to take anything away from him in the ring. Tyler Breeze looking at him as, look, he's not like me, and that's why he sucks. And this is, the counter between those two videos is a very, very, very awesome way to set up the match between these two guys. Which is good, because up next is, in fact, Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze in a #1 contendership match for the NXT Championship. Sami Zayn finally has the music that we know him by now, the sort of ska, beat bop, and whatever you want to call it music that he has now. I said during Arrival he had generic Rock 5 as his entrance, and it was really, really weird and off-putting, and seeing this was just... it was just really good. It was more Sami Zayn slotting into his spot. Tyler Breeze, and I don't think I ever noticed this until going back and watching this stuff now. Tyler Breeze, when he makes his entrance, he does do the selfie thing, but it's that moment when he takes his face away, or he takes his stare away from the selfie cam, and he actually looks out into the crowd. He gets this awesome 1,000-mile stare thing going on. You would not know to look at him that he's only in Full Sail, that he's only on the campus of Full Sail University, he's only in front of a couple hundred people. The way he stares out across the audience, you would swear he's in a stadium. You would swear he's in a Madison Square Garden. And I don't know how you replicate that. I really don't. It's a small thing, and I'm really sort of bummed with myself that I didn't notice it until now. But you could chalk that up to, oh, any stage I'm on is the biggest stage in the world. Like, I'm not in Full Sail. I'm making Full Sail as important as MetLife Stadium, or as Raymond James, or as Madison Square Garden, or Barclays Center, because wherever I am is the biggest stage. And that's the feel that he brings with him, even though he's cocky as hell, and we know it's not true. Sami Zayn works over the arm, and Breeze reverses. There's a takedown by Zayn and an overhead wrist lock, armbar by Breeze, rolling arm drags by Zayn, grounded armbar by Zayn, a collar and elbow tie up, and they walk themselves into the corner. Both men trade some shots. Breeze eats the turnbuckle hard. Breeze tosses Zayn from the turnbuckle to the floor in what looks like a botch, but I'm pretty sure it's just Zayn selling like a rock star. Mudhole stomp by Breeze when he gets him back in the ring, a knee drop to the face, which is always great. They don't go for it really in this match, but there was a lot of Tyler Breeze stuff at that particular time where he would go after somebody else's face because he was Prince Pretty. He was the prettiest face in NXT. So when you see something like him dropping the knee on the face, there's a little bit of extra story and a little bit of extra intent in there, and I really do like that. Bulldog into the second turnbuckle by Breeze just backs up my point. Right hands by Breeze, a facebuster and a grounded face lock also back up my point. Front toss suplex by Zayn, and he tosses Breeze right out of the ring. There's an apron moonsault by Zayn to the outside, of top rope crossbody by Zayn when they're back in the ring, and a Blue Thunder Bomb. A tornado DDT by Breeze, not to be outshined by the Blue Thunder Bomb, and a pop-out powerbomb from the corner. Corner beatdown by Breeze, corner exploder by Zayn. Everything we're doing in the corner. If you want to throw me in the corner over here, I'm going to throw you in the corner over there, except I'm going to do it with an exploder suplex. Both men trade some punches. There's a super kick by Breeze. There's a deadlift X-plex. Okay. I will say, I'm not going to stray into hyperbole here because I think this was a botch, but even the botch ended up looking good because they go and they counter, and Zayn basically gets him in a deadlift into what looks like it's going to be a suplex, but then he releases early, so it looks like a Pete Dunne X-plex, but the way he comes down, it looks like a driver. So for the sake of not calling it a botch, I'm going to call it an accidental X-plex driver. How about that? Suicide Senton to the outside by Zayn, a haluva kick from Zayn. Should have finished the match in the eyes of all the fans, I'm sure. But what happened? this is the brilliant thing. Tyler Breeze in the corner, slumped down in the corner, knows he's about to get a haluva kick, puts his hands up to his face, doesn't strike Sami Zayn, but as you go for the haluva kick, as you raise your leg, you are naturally exposing your twig and gigs. So as he came at Tyler Breeze, and Tyler Breeze went to block the haluva kick, there was an incidental, I guess you could call it a low blow, but it wasn't a low blow because he didn't hit him in the nuts. Sami Zayn hit him in the hand with his nuts. So what do you call that? I know it's cool storytelling, and I know we're supposed to think, oh, what a dastardly thing, but I'm going to stick up for Tyler Breeze here because the way this story goes, he didn't do anything wrong. He put his hands up because he didn't want a foot in the face. That's okay. Incidental low blow is enough of a distraction and enough of a disruption to the proceedings, shall we say, for Breeze to pop up, take advantage of all the confusion and the referee not quite knowing what to do, hit the beauty shot and get the win. Very, very cool thing. Very cool way for a slimy heel like Tyler Breeze to get a win. Technically not do anything wrong, but still come away knowing that he's pissed a lot of people off. And it's a cool way to continue the struggle of Sami Zayn, who played off good, and when he was a babyface, played off the struggle really, really well. I'm glad I'm doing this for another reason, because we see the awesome heel work Sami Zayn is doing right now. It's very, very easy to forget the awesome babyface that he was, especially in NXT. In WWE as well. But let's not forget that in WWE, he threw his arm out posing on his way to the ring for a match with John Cena. So, again, maybe just everybody stay in NXT. Everybody just stay in NXT is the theme going forward. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Rusev and Lana come out for a promo. I forgot that Rusev used to do the flag entrance where he'd come out like really, really aggressively waving the Russian flag, putting it in the stand. Lana brags about Rusev and all the things that he's done on the main roster, which at this point I still think wasn't very much. She bragged about how great Russia was, and then she bragged about Putin, and I forgot about the Putin stuff. All the stuff that they used to do when they talk about, Rusev's going to be great, and I'm going to be great, and we're going to show how great Russia is, and we're going to do it for the glorious Putin. And they would always put Vladimir Putin's face on the Titantron. I don't know how they got away with that. I don't know how that didn't cause some sort of offense by somebody, but I guess 7 years ago we weren't trying to be as offended as we are now. Mojo Rawley comes out to confront them and gets owned. Hey, it's all good. Now, getting into the more serious stuff, it'll take you back in time. Because the next match is Charlotte Flair versus Natalya Neidhart. Now, this is a couple of things. This is back when you were allowed to like Charlotte Flair. This is back when it was still worth getting invested in Natalya. I still like both of them, but Natalya has been so reduced to jobber status on the main roster, it's actually pathetic. And Charlotte, she commits the cardinal sins of being white and blonde, so we're not allowed to like her either. Now, they've got Ric Flair and Bret Hart, respectively, in their corners, which is really good. And this is where we're going to do what I said we were going to do last time, when there is an actual story. There wasn't really a story in the first couple of matches, but how did we get here? Well, as we talked about last time, Paige went on to the Raw after Mania, took on AJ Lee in that fluke win, and got the Divas Championship. And JBL, who I have to keep reminding myself was the GM of NXT at the time, said, well, you can't successfully defend and represent the NXT Women's Championship if you're on Raw being the Divas title. So he stripped her of the title, ending her 308-day title reign. The very first women's champion in NXT, her championship reign ends in a stripping because she went off and got a bigger title. And yes, for the context, you have to say that the WWE Divas Championship, the Butterfly Belt, the Tramp Stamp Championship, was a step up from the NXT title, which is really, really sad. But bottom line is, they set up a tournament. We're gonna crown a brand new champion at Takeover. It's gonna be really, really good. Charlotte went on to beat Emma and Alexa Bliss. Natalya beat Sasha Banks. And Layla, also in the tournament, was Bayley and Alicia Fox, which is nice. Both of them at various points in interviews talked about stepping out of the shadows of their respective families, the Hearts and the Flairs and whatever. And then Paige comes out and takes the microphone from whoever the hell was doing ring announcing at the time. I'm sure nothing ever came of her. She thanked the NXT audience for allowing her to grow her name and become who she was and go to Raw and go get the title. We're establishing a new NXT championship, NXT Women's Championship tonight, and just know that these women that are are making history now. When you succeed here, you can do this. And she holds up the Divas Championship and gets a homecoming welcome from NXT, because the NXT crowd is just like that, and it's really good, and it's just feel good shit, and I like it. The match itself it's really good if you like a lot of technical, a lot of ground-based counter wrestling. It's not fireworks wrestling. It's not 27 Canadian destroyers in the first 5 minutes type wrestling, but it's really deliberate, like Wrestling 101 type stuff in the best way that I can possibly say it. It's nice also to know that both wrestlers had somebody in their corner that didn't really get involved. Ric Flair was very Ric Flair, juking and jiving on the outside and wooing a bit. But anyways, collar and elbow tie up and a hip toss by Natty and a trip and a front face lock. Charlotte reverses it into an armbar. Natty reverses it into an armbar of her own. Headlock and a takeover by Natty and a grounded headlock. Natty works the arm. Charlotte hits a takedown and locks into an armbar of her own. A whole lot of anything you can do, I can do better in this one. Side headlock by Charlotte. Front face lock by Natty. Body scissor by Natty. Mounted elbow strikes by Charlotte. Charlotte works the midsection for a long ass time, and they chop the hell out of each other. Natalya, at some point, I don't know if it was during the chop battle, she tries to woo at Charlotte, and she sounds like she's got laryngitis, because I think she tries to do it while she's catching her breath, so it's like, whoa! It's good. It makes you laugh. Backpack sleeper by Natty, which obviously, because it's wrestling, leads to a backpack stunner by Charlotte. Mudhole by Charlotte. A figure four headlock turns into an abdominal stretch, and the abdominal stretch with the leg lock by Natty turns into a dropkick by Charlotte. A lot of anything you can do, I can do better, which is also a lot of fun. Double underhook suplex by Natty. A snapmare and a dropkick. A forearm off the apron by Natty, and a slam into the floor by Charlotte. A top rope moonsault by Charlotte. Misses. Natty follows up with a lariat. There's a sharpshooter, gets reversed into a figure four. In the figure four, they keep reversing the figure four until they roll to the outside, and Charlotte is doing the figure four off the apron the same way that Bret Hart used to do the figure four around the ring post, there's a whole lot of digs and symbolism there, which is really, really good. Natty eats the steps on the outside, gets tossed back into the ring, and in front of Bret Hart, Charlotte locks in the sharpshooter. When she tries to turn it over, when she tries to get herself back into the sharpshooter again, Natty gets shoved off, gets hit with the bow down to the Queen, and Charlotte is your new NXT champion, back when you were allowed to say what an awesome thing that actually is. Now, here's where we break kayfabe, and here's where NXT used to be really awesome and kind of unique and definitely separated itself out from the main roster entirely. You could take a moment and acknowledge the good shit that you had just done. You could break character for a second and just do it. You see it a lot. We're going to talk about it a lot when we get to the Bayley and Sasha Banks feud, especially when they main evented pay-per-view or takeovers and had Iron Woman matches and all that sort of thing. And they would be killing each other before the match. They'd be killing each other in the match, and then they'd get to have that good cry, that big hug, like, oh my God, look at how far we've moved forward type thing after the match. Because NXT let them do that, and you had a crowd that would let them do that, and that was the big difference. Bret Hart, Ric Flair in there showing respect to each other, showing respect to what the ladies had just done. They had a big old cry. You can physically see, and the camera, and the thing I love about it too is the camera doesn't shy away from the kayfabe breaking either. Camera's right on them. You can see Charlotte verbally thanking Natalya for the match that she just gave her, which is really great. Natty gives her a hug. They have the big respectful moment. Natty raises Charlotte's hand, points her out as the new women's champion, and it's really, I hate to be a sap, or I hate to put myself in a position where you guys are all going to call me a sap, but this is feel-good shit. This is feel-good shit. And like I say, you get to get the feel-good shit after you've got a really good match off of two people that are just technical as hell, and they didn't use any, like, smoke and mirrors, really. Neither one of them really healed it up too much. I mean, Charlotte's the heel, but like, she doesn't use her dad in her corner, and Natalya doesn't either with Bret being there. You don't see an outside scuffle with the people on the outside like you would see on the main roster. So you get the best version of a match, and then you get the nice moment afterwards. And it's just good. You can't do it all the time. I think what it reminds me of, the closest thing they came to this on the main roster, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but it was when they gathered the entire women's roster out on the stage for Triple H and Stephanie to announce the Evolution pay-per-view. and when they came out to announce the Women's Royal Rumble, where sort of we shook off characters for a second, everybody kind of celebrated, everybody kind of had a hug, but because like main roster WWE fans are like, oh my god, this is killing the business, you can't, they're supposed to have a match later, how are they hugging and celebrating and all that? It's like, well, real life exists. Like, I'm sorry, like it's the Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, I'm sorry, I love you super kick thing. I'm harping on it now, but this is back in the early portion of NXT where this shit could happen. And I don't even think, as much as I love NXT, and as much as you guys know I have a bias towards NXT, it's why NXT is what I talk about most on this channel, I don't even think current day NXT would allow a moment like this. And I think that's a little bit sad. And the fact that it's a little bit sad today only makes it more celebratory to see it back then. But that's not all. We've still got a main event to talk about. Your main event of the evening is Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd. Now, Tyson Kidd is one of those guys, and I don't really know how to categorize these people because I put in Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel and Evan Bourne and, I mean, Neville to a certain degree as well. There's a certain group of people that were floating around that time that just sort of went away. And now I've seen them on a couple of indie shows, and a couple of them have shown up in AEW of all places. But Tyson Kidd is the one that stayed. Obviously, he had the unfortunate incident with Samoa Joe. He hasn't wrestled. He's been I know he's in some sort of backstage role in WWE right now. I haven't looked up what that is because I'm a moron. But Tyson Kidd, I forgot until, and I'm watching this right now. Why is the light going off? Why is that a thing? There we go. The technology that I have to deal with, guys. I kick myself in the ass for watching this show and forgetting how good Tyson Kidd was. And he was a little bit different. Before the match, we go through the crowd. We see Chris Christopherson, of all people, is in the crowd, along with Cesaro and Christian, known currently to everybody as Christian Cage because he just debuted in AEW. The video package isn't too much to talk about. It's a whole bunch of them talking shit to each other. Tyson Kidd making a lot of reference to the fact that he's already been other places and done other things. Like he's been on the main roster. He's been a tag team champion. He was tag team champion with Davey Boy Smith's kid at one point. Didn't they come in with Natty? Wasn't that the thing? And then they fought the Usos and Tamina. Yeah. Where'd everybody land out of that deal? But he said, he basically talks like he's going to use NXT as a springboard to get himself back to the main roster. Now, you would think that would be a heel thing, because for the NXT loyals, like, NXT is the thing. So how dare you use our brand to just get yourself back to where you want to be? Like, you should, if you want the NXT title, you should want to be here and be here. So it's a little bit heely. I do like the line from Adrian Neville that the promo ends with, because he says the only one leaving TakeOver with any gold is going to be your wife. And seeing as we just talked about that match, that's not true at all, is it? I forgot how good Tyson Kidd's music is, too, and I've come to a conclusion. I was going to talk about this during Arrival, and I thought about it, and I started questioning myself. I really hate the initial NXT World Championship title. It's just a square, and I know hindsight is 2020, and we've had a belt upgrade since then, so you can't really go back and look at it with 2021 eyes. It's an ugly belt. I thought it was cool at the time because, oh, look at that, it's different. It's not just some round plate with something on it. It's just ugly. It's on par with the TNT Championship, isn't it? Or the original one, the one that they used even though it wasn't finished. It's on par with that. So I hate the belt. I'm glad we don't have that belt anymore. Kidd's music is great. I forgot how good Tyson Kidd was. And Adrian Neville predicted that Natalya was going to win the match. We just talked about that Natalya didn't win. And we've got some cool people at ringside. But the match itself, super dramatic to start. Big, long, like they do all the introductions and whatnot. The bell rings, and there's a big, long stare down between the two of them because the commentators and even these guys themselves are making a big deal about how these guys know each other so well and they're mirror images of each other, and it's like being in each other's heads. It's like fighting themselves, all that kind of thing. Finally, there's a collar and elbow tie-up, and I mean a stiff collar and elbow tie-up all around the ring. They break on the corner when the referee tells them to break, and then they begrudgingly sort of have a super aggressive handshake to start the match. Headlock takeover by Tyson Kidd twice, and each one of them tries to work the other one's arm, and another headlock takeover by Kidd, because that seemed to work for him the first two times. Kidd takes him down by the arm and transitions into a key lock, an arm drag takedown by Neville, and he turns it into a seated armbar. Cradle suplex by Neville, a monkey flip by Kid, rolling arm drags by Neville, and a stiff forearm shot by Kid. Hard Irish whip by Kid, and Neville is... I can speak, I swear. Neville gets locked in the Tree of Woe. Kicks to the prone Neville as Tyson Kidd sets up for a hesitation dropkick in the corner. Back elbow by Kidd, a grounded side headlock. Hangman by Kidd, suicide flip dive to the outside, sleeper by Kidd, and a boot by Neville. Both men hit a crossbody at the same time, and that is such a simple maneuver, but it's so good when both guys hit it just perfectly and sell it just the right way, because it's the softest part of your midsection being hit, and it's two people trying to pull off that same bump at the same time. And I risk repeating myself, but sometimes the simplest stuff is the best stuff. They trade some shots. There's a series of kicks by Neville, kicks to the spine by Neville, a hesitation dropkick in the corner like Kid did before. Again, championship level. Anything you can do, I can do better is always good. Pop-up Batista bomb by Neville, followed by some say it loud and say it proud. Some Daniel Bryan silly kicks. Oh yes. Second rope leg sweep by Kid, an enziguri and a dropkick. Neville suplexes both of them out of the ring. I forgot how much I loved this spot. Neville goes for a suplex, but he's too close to the ropes, and he's suplexing Kid out of the ring, and Kid holds on, so both of them flip over the ring like a stick of humanity. That's a terrible, terrible description, but that's exactly what it is. Sharpshooter by Kid. Once they get back into the ring, he transitions it into a dungeon lock, which stays in for a long time before Adrian Neville is allowed to break it at the ropes. Rolling leg drop by Kid, and a super Frankensteiner by Neville, which was insane, followed by the red arrow, and Neville gets the win. Neville goes for the feel-good handshake after the match. He poses for a long-ass time in that jet of smoke that they used to use because they couldn't use pyro. And it always used to come down from the ceiling. It was never up. Like, it wasn't pyro, and it came from the opposite direction, and it looked so... Again, it's that thing that, like, seems so simple nowadays, but, like, when they used to do it back in the day, I thought it was so different. Like, the Becky Lynch, when we get to Becky Lynch, and she had those jets of smoke that were part of her entrance, that... You know, realistically, okay, they couldn't have pyro because Full Sail's a small building, I'm pretty sure. They have the little pyro boxes nowadays. They didn't have those back then. But it was such a different look and such a different thing to see the win, like, to see, like, somebody like an Edge would make an entrance out of the smoke, and that's cool because it's part of his entrance, and it's cool and it's eerie and whatever. But to see the champion that just finished retaining his title, surrounded in the billowing smoke and all that sort of thing, was such a unique thing and so counter to the almost cliche pyro of the time. Was a really, really good thing. Finally makes his way over to Tyson Kidd to offer him a handshake. He's, thanks him for a good match and whatever. Tyson walks right by the handshake, gives him a shoulder bump on the way out. He's all aggressive as hell, and he's limping really angrily up the ramp to the back, and Neville keeps celebrating. Now, we have a number one contender in Tyler Breeze. We have a really frustrated Sami Zayn. We have a really frustrated Tyson Kidd. And we have a dominant champion in Adrian Neville. We didn't know this at the time, but a little bit of foreshadowing to the next episode of NXT Rewind when we talk about Fatal 4-Way. And that Fatal 4-Way is indeed Neville versus Kidd versus Zayn versus Breeze. But that's in the next episode. I really hope you guys are enjoying this so far. I'm enjoying it. I hope you'll excuse the cuts because... I think taking a break every couple of matches before I talk about them is helping me make the videos a little easier. I'm trying to make it as seamless as I can. Tell me if it's working. The first one of these got a really, really good response, and I really do appreciate that from every single one of you. Obviously, there's not enough people watching for me to get a negative reaction, so all the reactions I do get are positive. But like I say, this is a lot of fun. Like I say, we are still in the COVID times, so me watching a rabid, old-school, Full Sail crowd is really just... It's good for me, if nothing else. But please tell me what you guys think. I don't know when this is going to go up. This is going to go up right before the next Takeover, and it hasn't, as of this current date, the date of recording, I don't know when the next Takeover is, but whatever the next Takeover is, whatever the show is that this is in front of, I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys are following me on Twitter at Spaz Phoenix, and we can talk about that. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think of the series. I'm going to stop rambling now because I got nothing else to say. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But right now, tagging out. Bye, guys.